Hello and welcome to the third play session of Free from the Yoke. We had a session 0, and then we've had a couple of play sessions, and we had a little gap due to various things, and we are continuing on. So you're going to hear us kind of recapping where we were last time and figuring out exactly where the story is. We're going to kind of start out definitely at the house level a little bit today. But my name is Lowell, pronouns he, him, and this session is part of the Gauntlet Gaming Calendar. That is an online gaming community that you can play with that has we have about 100 games on the calendar each month. January was exploded with games, but it's pretty solid still for February, and I'm looking forward to March. At the end of this month, if you're watching this before the final weekend of February, we're having the Gauntlet community on Open Gaming. It's a free online event. You can find out about all of this stuff by going to gauntlet-rpg.com. Now, as with all the games that we have here on the Gauntlet, we're using a layered set of safety tools. So we have the X card on the table, we have the open door policy, and then just to remind everybody what things are on and off the table. Let me run through the lines and veils really quick. So we have hard lines on child abandonment, epidemics, sexual assault, torture, peril to pregnant women / infants, a double thing for pandemic plague, and scat / body fluids. Now, for veils, meaning that will fade if we get into situations where this occurs, harm to children, homophobia, sexual content, slavery, those things all be kind of a fade to black. And then we have an ask first for anything dealing with mind control or sort of direct PC betrayal of another PC. We want to check in before those things. Now, what I'd like to do is have the players reintroduce their character and say a little bit about their house, just so we get that sense of everyone once again. So, Alexi, would it be all right if I started with you introducing us?
Sure thing. I'm Alexi Sargent, he, him. You can follow all of my gaming endeavors online at Cloven Pine Games. Be sure to back again from the Broken Land, now on Kickstarter. And I'm playing the Church of Uncreated Fire. That is the house that I have. It is a religion that came over with the Empire's slaves and then was making its way kind of into the Empire, sort of infiltrating the Empire to redeem it or be corrupted by it from within. Depends on who you talk to. The Church for the Uncreated Fire is ruled by a conclave of prophets. The priesthood works tirelessly to minister to the poor and downtrodden. No expenses spared decorating churches and art. Patronage is a religious duty. And they've got this whole fire thing going on. That's not just a motif or a theological doctrine, but they have some real, strange rituals that turn on that. My character, should I introduce the character as well?
Yeah.
My character is Ivana. She's the Bogatyr, which is kind of a warrior playbook. She is devoted to the Church of Uncreated Fire. As a child, she was someone who was thought perhaps to be a prophet, one of these kind of these rulers of the church that are chosen in each generation. They've received this prophetic mantle. Ivana washed out. She turned out not to be prophet material, but she still wanted to prove herself a fervent servant of the church, and so did that on the battlefield, helping during the revolution that kicked out the empire, and is now devoted to advancing her house's interests. Her role in the house is champion, and the particular foe she has sworn an oath to confront is the treacherous and malevolent Nazarud, who orchestrated the massacre of the last conclave of prophets, and then after that, came around from the empire to the revolution, and now has worked his way into the inner circle of the arbiter. So, there is some justice to be done that is outstanding there. Oh, you're muted.
Fair enough. Let's come to Brian. Brian, tell us about your character and your house.
I'm Brian, he, him, and my house are the envoys of the Umot Alliance. They are they're an alliance of nations. In combination are fairly large and powerful. If they could, refrain from infighting among each other long enough to project that force outwards, but their representation in this land is headed up by my character Ziv, the ambassador. They Ziv, they, them, and they are the leader of these envoys in this land. And yeah, we just saw that we just saw them rescue their secret family from I forget the name of the forest, the red forest. And I'll go ahead, and since I've got your attention, I had a question from last time. I don't want to forget. I made note of it. At the end of the session, because we recruited the people from the forest, you said I got a surplus of recruits.
Yes.
But I had recruits as a need. So does that cancel out, or does it change from a need to a surplus?
It cancels out the need. It fulfills it and cancels it out.
Good.
Okay. Then let's come to Stoina.
Yeah, that's me. I'm David, he, him, playing Stoina here. She is a member of the Keepers of the Old Runes, who kind of had sort of true names, sort of the magical representation of certain things and ideas even, and kind of control education, or at least try to. And Stoina is kind of a sort of a young prodigy, however that word's pronounced. Constance in there. She let's see, she was childhood friends with Ziv, I think we said. Knew about that secret and has been trying to kind of get the people of the Red Forest onto the regents, the arbiter, that's the one, the arbiter side, but not doing very well. Has been masquerading, I think, as a church member, sort of accidentally, but it worked out because they did not like the Keepers much. And yeah, I think that's it.
All right. And then Scott, please remind us of who you are.
All right, I'm gonna do my very best. I'm playing Samat, and Samat is a member of the House of the Horse Lords of the Steppe. We are folk who prefer to range free and wild and tame horses. I guess the Khans would be like a historical equivalent. And Samat, I have to really apologize to anybody watching this because I've had an even longer break because I missed the one session in between that we did play. Let's see. So I'm a scout, and let's see. So I can't remember much actually. So as we do more of the story check-in, I'll remember more. I see some of my connections, but it's been like a month.
That is fair. I think I'm going to unmark your roll checks because I don't think you've gone through a couple of rolls yet. I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that everybody should be at one roll. So let me talk about what occurred last time. As you may recall, this was the aftermath of the first of the Arbiters' councils, the gatherings there, and what came out of that. Our 4 PCs met together, discussed matters, and made some plans. As it happened, we also did some house moves, which changed a few things. The most dramatic of those was that the church took action against the nobility and dug down to find out what would be a problematic secret going on with the nobility, and found that, in fact, there was a bloodline curse that was occurring in certain members of nobility. They were hiding these members away, and this got out, and eventually the leader of the nobles had to essentially abase himself before the church in order to regain favor. One of the things that sort of was a tangent to that is the fact that there have been, and it was believed some of the curse was this, there have been werewolves around in the lands. The group, which would have been Ziv and Stonia and Ivana, headed to the Red Forest for a couple of different reasons, to try and bring the people of the Red Forest along, try and find some things out. We discovered in an early scene after a failed move that in fact the forest was not friendly to outsiders, as we saw some of them essentially executed when envoys were sent. That didn't deter our group because that was off camera. So our group decided to travel. And how did they travel? Ziv brought out his magnificent treasure barge, which sailed along the river. There were a number of obstacles that were overcome, including some spirits and such that were travail. Eventually, they had to disembark, and they headed into the Red Forest, where they found that there were unnatural creatures stalking in the woods, and there had been damage to the woodland paths. They essentially were being hunted by these large, intelligent, armed wolf beasts. And there was some throwing of weapons back and forth before the group decided to cheese it and run as fast as they could for the closest village. Ziv, of course, had been here before, hadn't been here for some time, but did know the paths, and eventually arrived at the village that had his the mother of his child at it, and his child. There was a brief thing I should mention before we go too much further. Along that way in, there was the activation of a ritual by, I believe, Stonia, that worked very well, extraordinarily weirdly well, but also our Ivana combined her energies with this, which seemed to have a very strange effect on the land. Eventually, when they get to the village, they're clearly treated as kind of outsiders. Ziv is treated well. There are barricades around the town. What they find out is that some group of people within the forest has been doing rituals with the primal runes. As you may recall, the keepers, that's what they're tied to. And the flame that is tied to the uncreated fire is a manifestation of that, something borrowed or given by the keepers. There's a whole uncertainty about how that fits within it. But what they found out was that someone had worked and transformed and warped one of the runes in the woods, and had effectively had given a certain amount of power to some people, but also had created these beasts that are like the werewolves. And in fact, this transformation here of the beast rune and the forest rune may be what triggered this outbreak of the werewolves out in the greater land. Eventually, Ziv talked to them, realized that the other two villages were either given over to this or already lost. But there was some discussion, and a negotiation was made to move the people from this third large village out. and the group set their mind to it, and we had a Seven Samurai style training montage of them preparing the locals and gathering the crossbows and such that Ziv's people had. And then there was a great mass exodus that ended with some battles against these foes that were shocking and dramatic. There was a Horatio at the bridge moment there with Ivana holding the line, and it was spectacular. In the end, the people of the village were got out safely, along with Ziv's old flame, I guess we'll say, Stav. Got out, and essentially they are being taken under the wing of the envoys, which gave to the envoys recruits, which is something that they needed. But some other things were learned, but it's clear that there's some weird supernatural things going on in the world in terms of the runes and so on. So what I want to do is, Scott, your character was heading down to the broken ruins down south. In a second, I want to come back, and we're going to kind of short play that scene rather than doing a zoom in, and then we'll kind of move back to the house level. Before I go too much further, though, Ziv, Stonia, or Ivana, did I leave any key details out of that summary?
Like a pretty good recap to me.
Okay.
There's one dramatic moment when we first spotted the werewolf that Ziv shot an arrow at it, and then basically got saved from serious harm by Ivana's protection.
Right. It like threw its axe at you, and I like knocked it out of the way just in time.
Yeah. Broke your blade on it. It was a pretty spectacular save there.
That's the only dramatic moment I can think of. That.
Okay.
Yeah, there's one thing dramatically as a I don't know, player facing thing, but I think in that failed move before when we were at the family level, I think those envoys they killed the envoys. The people from the forest killed the envoys because their prophecy was that these outsiders are going to burn the forest down or something.
Yeah.
And then maybe an hour later, we were like, well, let's make this rune that combines fire and growth. And I'm like, wait, this was an awful idea. We're just doing this, aren't we?
Yeah, it seems like that may have played into the prophecy that they had about the destruction being brought by outsiders.
Storna gave me a little assist at the end when I was fighting off the monsters. Storna stepped in to help with a little extra runic magic. So I want to credit that, because that definitely contributes to Ivana feeling more warmly towards this lore master now.
Nice. I want to come to you, Scott, and I imagine that you had while the plans had been made, perhaps they would join you. Their direction took them further north than yours did, and they were going by boat. You're a horse tribesman.
No,
don't ride.
I don't need to go on the boat.
But you would have traveled down to the Borderlands ruins there. Sort of series of fastnesses and things there. So let me start with this. We haven't described who is on the other side of this border. Who is that? What does this Borderland ruin protect from?
So this would be what is for us the south.
Yeah.
And so trying to get the lay of the, all right, so we go.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we are surrounded. We have water to the north and to the east.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So yeah.
So beyond the
I imagine that there's probably maybe some mountains to either side, and these ruins maybe hold some kind of pass or something that.
yeah, and I would say I like having that one forest there beyond the pass is an even older and more dangerous forest, filled with all manner of unknowns. The stories range far and wide throughout the kingdom. It's
one of those places that hasn't traditionally been a settling place. It's been off limits. The Empire had begun trying to look into it, but hadn't gotten very far before the revolution came. But you will come to the borderland ruins and begin your checking around. And I believe that you have followers, right? As one of you, what do you have for your gear? Let me look here. I was looking at the house.
To my house, go to my gear.
Oh yeah, so you've got some followers, some hardy followers that you could have with you. But you moved to check it out. The ruins have been devastated. Some walls still stand, but this is definitely a more recent thing. I would like you to make an unearth forgotten lore roll.
Okay. Bring up the dice roller. Unearth is plus lore. Okay. And yeah, you picked that on purpose, didn't you?
Did I?
Just because I'm -1.
Oh,
it's okay. 2d6. And subtract 1. I got a 10.
you got a 10. So you have 2 questions about these ruined old bastions.
Whose ancestors are most tied to this?
Do you want to know who's most tied to what happened here, or to the ruins themselves?
Maybe the ruins themselves.
The ruins themselves were created in the old days. They've been around for a long time. They've traditionally been a holding. You would see the marks and signs that tell you that some early version of the keepers set the wardings and the marks here, but those have tumbled down. And the keepers may know more about why it was built this way. What was it guarding against? What's your second question?
How can I draw on this for power?
How can you draw on this for power? You definitely have the sense that there is something monstrous, large, and unnatural living here. You haven't seen it, but it looks like just the movement of whatever this thing is what shattered some of these walls.
Oh, crazy.
That would be a thing to tame, or to kill, to hunt, to gain its power. Does that seem fair?
Yeah.
Okay.
Very fair.
So I'd like to kind of move back and kind of check in with each of our characters, figure out where they are, maybe do a little bit of doing some stage setting of their place and their family and so on, and then maybe look at house moves. So I'll go into the same order that we did on the character keeper. After this expedition is finished, Ivana, where's the next place we would see you? And we can imagine that we're maybe a week or two, maybe even further down the road.
Got it. So there's a little time that's passed since our successful exodus from the forest.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably Ivana has is meeting up with higher ups of the Church of Uncreated Fire to see what they can do, to further get closer to the Arbiter, right, and also bring to justice those who have wronged them, that are currently too close to the Arbiter for their comfort.
Do you tell your people the full tale of what occurred in the woods?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
why not?
Do you tell them of Ziv's family?
That seems like a need to know thing.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. And do you tell them about the interaction between your calling and the calling of Stonia?
Yeah, that I would, because I think Ivana, is less. She's less of a scholarly type, right? It's like she's used the rituals that she's learned, but she'd be interested in turning to someone who's more of a scholar or researcher within the church to have some answers about, why these two rituals combined in this way.
I think the prophet that you talk to is not particularly forthcoming with answers, but does ask you kind of repeatedly to describe what you heard about the runes, what you know, and things like that, and clearly goes away concerned. Who is a person here in your household who is a mentor or a friend or associate or a lover for Ivana? Like who's an NPC that we want to establish here?
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Do we have a name generator already already to hand, or shall
No,
I just?
I should put the link in there. I've been using Ukrainian, Slavic, Russian, all of those things.
Right for our kind of our setting. All right, let me get something here.
Sure. I will have to make sure to put that in
there. Yeah. We'll say that Slavomir is the kind of like his was a commanding officer when she was fighting in the revolution, and is now has a kind of somewhat ceremonial post as like chief guard to the conclave of prophets.
And I think after you leave the prophets, there'll be a thing that just kind of hanging around waiting for you to come out is Slavomir. They're older, they're showing the wounds of the war and so on, but they greet you warmly, and they've clearly been waiting to have a chance to speak with you.
Yeah. Ivana gives him a respectful bow and then says, Slavomir, I see you've been waiting here. And it doesn't look like it's just to greet your old comrade.
No, not entirely. Come, let's go and sit. And drags you to his office. Doesn't say anything on the way, but then sits you down. Has some, strong black tea and a clear liquor kind of poured out on the table for you. Some black bread and butter, and talks a little bit before he says, prophets do not tell us much. So to tell me what is going on. I've heard that something happened.
Oh, it was quite the adventure. There were beasts rampaging through the Red Forest, and I had to hold them off so that my companions could escape alongside the people of the forest who are now seeking a new home. Uh, but I believe I have helped spread goodwill for the church among the envoys and the people of the people formerly of the forest, and even the keepers of the old ruins. I met one that wasn't too bad.
The keepers play a dangerous long game. I as much as I think the prophets may be calculating and keeping things quiet, I know that the keepers, they scheme in their holdings. I would be careful in pledging your loyalty or friendship to one of theirs.
Don't worry, I'm going in with both eyes open. She says, with a grin, right? Because of course she's missing an eye.
And he kind of looks and he says, "You should be careful. I know what lies in your heart, and if you want to make that strike, that you must do it carefully. And if you don't, the punishment will not fall alone on your shoulders, but on the shoulders of our church."
Slavomir, you know the church is always foremost in my mind and my spirit.
If the prophets were to ask you to forsake your vengeance, would you?
It's on behalf of the prophets that I'm seeking this justice, Slavomir.
That is not an answer, but I will let you go with that. And hand you the drinks, and you kind of sit there and chat more companionably as he kind of goes out of the old mentor mode.
Mm-hmm.
Ziv, tell me, these people from the forest come to your household. They're setting them up. How are you treating Stav? There's a reason she wasn't a public thing, right?
Well, there was. They were, these people outside of. I don't know what the word for it is, but they were not they were outsiders. They were not citizens of the
strangers,
station.
outsiders, very strangers in the capital S kind of thing.
But now, in a way, they have entered the fold. It's not. It's brand new. It's not settled. But I wonder. I think Ziv would like to make this relationship official at some point, and
so
probably
right now,
has to adopt their own son.
Mm-hmm.
I think Ziv is patient and isn't going to rush that if there's going to be difficulties caused by it. But that would be the plan if possible. And the fact that this relationship is much older than they're going to present could still be a problem. But problems can be managed.
So we'll assume that you set her up in a house, something of that sort. There's some talk about her need to be honored, blah, 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 blah. I think it is within a day or two of your return that your sister corners you and says, "Who is this woman? I have talked with some people, and they suggested to me that there was something that she is And to be considered a noble, to be considered a part of the household? What is this?
Officially, not yet, but I plan to make her my wife.
Your wife, a forest woman.
Formerly.
And did you know her when you served as envoy to there?
I can move quickly when needed, but I'm not that swift. I didn't make her my betrothed just in the last week.
And the boy?
I plan to adopt him.
And what, pray tell, authority, role will she have in the household? I say this as the one who has managed your affairs and the monies and the organization and care of things here for, well, since we arrived in this place.
I don't think those things would interest her. I would hope that you would continue. Your skill with these matters is exceptional.
I think I want you to roll diffuse.
There.
Or rather, disarm is.
Disarm.
Yeah.
Okay. So bravery. I need to abbreviate my name. Looks like that's a 10.
There's a 10. So she does that thing where we'll see that it is that way. You know, kind of accepts your word, accepts that this is the status of things, and will back down. Her anger somewhat lessened. You think that it's more that you hadn't told her than anything, that this is a secret that you'd kept. And that seems to be what bothers her more than anything else. Let me come to Stonia. Where do we find you?
Yeah, I feel she would go right back to the library, which is relatively close anyway. The keepers kind of hang out.
And how do the keepers report back in on their journeys, their studies, their toil? Is it a written report, or do you go speak to a mentor, or do you speak to a council?
Oh yeah, it'd be way more interesting if it's like a dissertation. Like
Yeah.
You have to present it in front of everybody.
So there is that moment they go, so if I may, just to, I want to make sure I'm clear on what you just said. You allowed a member of the church to combine their rituals with yours?
Yes, it was actually fascinating. She had, I mean, of course the histories tell it, but just to see the mastery of the fire rune was just a sight to behold. I put it in several footnotes. It's quite exhilarating.
Our fire runes.
Yes, of course. The ones, yeah.
And how much do you think this Ivana learned of our work?
Yeah, I think she is trying to hide the fact that she didn't really consider that. She's like, well, I don't think much, but I think it could have awoken a curiosity in her that could lead her to the library to get more learning, perhaps, that we could guide her.
And somebody goes to like, is clearly about to give a retort, but the advisor there kind of gestures and calms him and says, but the combination of the two forces didn't create what you wanted, or did it? Or was there something else there?
Well, in a sense, it very much did, but much more than I think either one of us individually would have asked for. It was something absolutely should be explored further.
And did you see any of these folk that had manipulated the runes in the forest? Who were they? Did you find that out?
And let's see, if I remember correctly as a player, I think I just had a dream of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the way she answers that is maybe again just taking a moment or two, just maybe flipping through her notes and stuff. Well, it was an interesting phenomenon. It's hard to explain, but I think almost the rune itself was telling me, explaining its history to me. So I guess I didn't see it with my eyes, I guess.
And again, there's certain like a silence across there. You say that one of the runes spoke to you then.
Yes, almost explaining its own story to me.
That silence sits there for a little bit longer than you find entirely comfortable.
Mhm.
And the people at the end says, perhaps it was dangerous, perhaps foolhardy to have sent someone so young and untrained to undertake this task. And they then kind of do that thing where they ignore you, and they're starting to talk in some rarefied language and stuff, and kind of talking around you in that way where they use the sort of the academic cant to keep you out of the conversation. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I bet this would not be the first time that this kind of happened to her too. So she's kind of maybe, I assume it's like a podium situation, where she's, I think, just shuffling her papers kind of, I guess like nervously. But yeah, I think the inner monologue here is just like annoyed that she kind of thinks that she made this maybe two big discoveries, and now they're probably going to be taken away from her.
Finally, the advisor turns to you and says, you will not speak of the transmogrification or changeability of those runes to anyone. Do you understand?
Of course, I wouldn't think I would dream of that. I hope that if there's a team being made to investigate this further, that I'm sure I can donate my notes, and I would hope I could help lead that team.
Oh, assuredly, he says as he lies to you.
Mm-hmm.
And there's that gesture of dismissal as you're sent away.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think she just collects all her notes and just dejectedly walks out.
I want to come back up to the house level again. I want to come around and check in with each house, particularly what are your needs, what are your surpluses, what do you feel is your agenda, and to remind everyone that there is a project that is on the table at this point, that the Arbiter has asked that people commit to this grand construction, that they commit raw materials, artisans, engineers, recruits, defenses, leadership, anything to help with the progress of this. Nothing yet has been committed. No one has yet acted to assist with what the arbiter has asked. So let us come to the horse lords. The horse lords are in very good shape, right?
Yeah.
They have land, they have livestock, they have herds, they have scouts, but manpower wise, they are lacking, right?
Mhm.
So what is it that the horse lords are doing? What is it they wish to do?
What was the project again for us? We're doing a
They are building a aqueduct that is going to run
from the lake.
from the burnt pot and the mountains there through the steppe to First Throne,
Okay. Yeah. All right.
disrupting your grazing lands.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I've got feels about that, but I'm not totally against it. Considering the promises being made. I think since we have, what are these house moves here? So, I mean, I think what we are going to do is we're going to volunteer our surplus of livestock to the project, so that those working digging the I have no clue how I'll just be honest.
Well, there's workers,
among
and
all of us,
workers have to be fed.
Right. I'm assuming there's humans, there's stuff, things happen, aqueduct appears. That's how it works in my
lot
mind.
of stone, a lot of engineers.
Yeah. Bodies, they throw bodies, and bodies need to be fed. I will provide food.
Okay. And your mood is positive.
Mhm.
So you don't have to worry about the logistics of this. So we see your family driving cattle and goats and other things to the work camps. They are distributed out there. And it certainly is going to go a ways towards the project. So I will take the arbiter and I will put one tick on the project clock for progress.
I'll mark off livestock.
Yeah, and your your relationship, your favor with the arbiter will go up to one tick.
All right.
You are the first to make an active donation from the households to bring that to bear, and there is definitely a good deal of honor that comes with that. And they speak, of the horse lords and what they are willing to commit to these things. We'll come back to you.
Okay.
Let's come to the church. What are the church's needs and surpluses?
We have surpluses of missionaries, land, and wealth, but we have a need for crops and literature.
So what is it that the church wants right now?
I mean, we got to get crops, right? Like all this wealth isn't going to do us any good if the the rank and file are starving, or just kind of scraping out a living without a sense of stability.
So one of the ways that you can figure out approach to crops, unless there's something already on the table that's established that you're like, oh, it seems to me that this thing we've already got on the table is a likely source of crops, or has it been established as a surplus on the table? If not, we'd go to Read the Wind, which is rolled with reach.
I'm thinking about this. There's a way to call on a house that you have influence over and possibly take a surplus from them.
That is when you call on them, lose your influence to gain advantage, take a surplus, get them to back you up.
So I have influence over the old nobility, which is an NPC house. What sort of surpluses do we imagine that they have?
Oh, that's a good question. Let us see. I think definitely wealth. That seems reasonable. And let me look at the resource in battle. I'm going to do, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, let me quickly roll. I'm going to roll a die. It's crazy. So they have wealth. They have defenses. Those are their two surpluses right now, because they have some of those old fortresses and things.
And if I get a double surplus, does that do anything for me?
If you would get the same surplus, you can decide to convert that into a related surplus. So let's say you were to take wealth from the nobles, you could then,
just buy land or buy crops, I guess. Yeah, I think that's what I want to do. I think I want to exert my influence over the nobles. I think that the church is just upping its calls for tithes, right? Kind of increasing the volume of demanding that the nobles pay some of their amassed wealth for the sake of beautifying the Church of Uncreated Fire and spreading moments of beauty and wonder to the land as a whole through the ministry of the church.
And I think we get a montage of these public ceremonies of nobles presenting wealth in very public settings to show their generosity and their gifts. And I think as we go along, we see the nobles getting less and less excited or pleased to be doing this till by the end it's very, very clear it's grudging. But you will have that. And how what do you want to turn that into? Do you want to turn it into crops, and how do you think you do that? Where do you buy food from?
Yeah, I think we want to turn that into crops. I think because we have land. That's that we have a surplus of land all throughout the nation here. So I think we're just buying up seeds, buying up farming equipment, buying whatever we need to turn to make our land grow, right? To make it so that the church's lands, scattered as they are, can become fruitful and start sustaining the church's needs more.
You're investing in that infrastructure in a way that very few houses have the time or the access or the money to do. That seems great. So you've removed. So go ahead and remove crops as a need.
Yeah.
And remove your influence from the nobles.
All right. A good trade.
Yeah, that seems fair. It seems right. And we'll pronounce a general blessing over the nobles for their generosity. Yeah, they've gotten out from under your thumb. We'll see whether they have any recriminations at this point. Ziv, the envoys are a little less good. You've got a couple of needs and just one surplus right now, but you've taken care of some things. So what is it that we want to see the envoys doing?
Yeah, so we've got a surplus of raw materials, and our needs are coin and luxury. I mean,
and we have 3 sites that you put on the map.
Yes.
That we haven't. I don't believe we've yet defined.
The one right in the middle is. Did we say it was some kind of it was mineral rich? There was some kind of.
It might have just been a straight up a gold mine, right?
Yeah.
I don't think there was a gold mine yet, but like there's the potential to create a gold mine there, I think. And there was some
veins, let's say there.
yeah, and the local populace, whatever the closest population center, the envoys have kind of begun trying to gain some influence over those people, so that then once that resource starts to get collected, they can direct some of it towards themselves. Yeah.
So what is the goal right now? Do you want to establish what one of the other resource points is and move on that?
Well, how did we develop these rich veins into actually like?
Now I can't remember if we did a move on those last time. I don't think we actually did a move.
Well, I did. I don't remember what was the move. I did a move to establish this kind of relationship with the local town.
Oh yeah, wasn't it? Did you choose that you don't have it yet, but you'll have it at the beginning of next season? Was that what we did? I can't remember.
I think was it just a read the wind on that? And it was,
yeah, that's right. So you just did the setup on that,
right?
The next move on that is sort of one of sort of two things. You can do it via claim by force, and again, force here is not necessarily military force. It's economic, diplomatic force that you're bringing to bear, or you can also use subterfuge, essentially to be sneaky about it and kind of sabotage so it doesn't appear valuable to them, but you can take control of it.
Yeah, subterfuge is probably more our style.
Okay. And who oversees the village, the villages that are near there? Is that its own faction? Is it under the nobles? Is it something else?
I imagine there's some noble who considers that population under their protection.
Yeah, so you are kind of working against the old nobility here, who we've already established, are not great. So let's have you roll subterfuge.
The 5.
That is a 5. So I think when you kind of send your agents to go in and start, making those actions, you are surprised because clearly the nobility have turned their attentions to this place. They have been drained by the actions of the church, and so they have turned to whatever sources they have, and they've clearly decided that this is one to hold on to, and I think you'll be your agents kind of go in maybe expecting this to be a little easy, but essentially some of them are caught and hung. They don't reveal where they came from, but the nobles clearly know that someone else has their eye on this location. And I'm going to raise the turmoil by 1. Does that seem fair? We will come to the keepers in just a moment, but I actually want to take our first break here. And when we come back, we'll start with the keepers and see what their house move is. Sound good? So let's go to a quarter after.
Alrighty.
So keepers, what are your needs and surpluses?
Let's see. I've got ancient writing, crops, and vellum as surpluses, but we're in need of lumber and land.
So a land, I understand, like you do small areas, things like that. What is it that has pushed you to really need that lumber? What is that shortage doing to you?
Yeah, the way I'm picturing it is that since they just have this one ancient library that they're kind of accepting students from all over the nation, it's just getting real crowded, and they can use some extra land maybe, or some extra lumber, especially to build some extra, buildings on the land that they have.
There's a limit to what you can do with mud brick and such, and you still need wood to help do frameworks and things, and so that's become tight. So what is it that the keepers are doing?
So I think, if I'm not mistaken, you said that the arbiter was looking for engineers, right? As one of the.
They are definitely looking for engineers. Yes.
Okay. So I think they might put their overcrowding aside for now and try and look into getting some of these engineers to where they need to go, hopefully.
So trying to figure out how to get engineers.
Yeah.
Okay. So there is a house move for that. We have the Read the Wind.
Okay, perfect. I was like, I think I know how to do this fictionally, but I don't know if a move's specifically tied to it, so that works out well.
Yeah.
So that is plus reach. Okay. And I think how I'm doing this is kind of putting the call out to anyone who has an interest in engineering or aqueducts or construction, come to the Library of the Keepers. Let's see. Okay, so I got a 9.
You got a 9. So your question is, how do we get surplus X?
Yeah, I guess engineers.
There aren't a lot of skilled engineers here in the countryside since the revolution,
Makes sense.
but you will hear word that one of the neighboring kingdoms, there is a number of engineers left over from the empire, that when the empire pulled back, there are a group of engineers that have stayed on and are in service to that kingdom right now.
Oh, interesting. All right.
And you can choose one of your allies to mark the map where those engineers are, across the border, where they are. So who do you want to have mark that map?
Oh, fascinating. Who was just dealing with the Borderlands? That was the envoys, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
The horse clans.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'll give it to Scott.
Scott, where is this neighboring kingdom that has these engineers in exile?
Neighboring for the keepers.
Neighboring your country as a whole.
Ooh. Oh, engineers. Oh, I like them being in the South End too. How about so we have First Throne and the Broken Shield. That area, kind of, if you drew a line, from them, they I guess bisect just southeast of that edge of the border.
Sure. What is the name of this place?
Wait, I can draw on the map.
Yeah.
Let's well, the name generator is not going to help me. That's for human names. Actually, that might help. It's better than nothing. Drago.
Kingdom of Drago.
Yep.
Okay. So I put that name there on the thing. Alexi, tell me, Drago borders the lands to the southeast. They have ocean access, sea access. Tell me something about the Kingdom of Drago.
They worship a legendary kraken.
Okay. So distinctly not church or runes or anything like that.
Yeah, they got their own thing going on down there.
Okay. And Ziv, tell me another thing about the Kingdom of Drago. I waited until you started eating, and then I did that.
Yeah, that's okay. I didn't really have an idea ready to go anyway. I think anything metallic that comes from the Kingdom of Drago has just this distinct color, and just it's very unique. You can just immediately identify anything metal that was made from there, because just whether it's the way they just process it, or it's the metals that they mine in their lands are different, or whatever it is.
So we've got Drago steel and metals that are out there. Their craftsmen have worked this distinctive look to them, maybe like scales. It has kind of a scaled look when they make the metal to echo the Kraken. Let me ask you then, I'm going to come back to you, David. You've established Kingdom of Drago. They've got these engineers. Are those engineers there voluntarily, or they kind of fled the empire and they're working for Drago, as a new way of life, or is the Kingdom of Drago held on to these engineers against their will?
I like the idea of the more threatening neighbor to the south, so maybe they're held there against their will.
Yeah. The Kingdom of Drago, since the empire withdrew, and Drago had been under their yoke as well, and they threw them off. But Drago has engaged in a program of rebuilding torn down bastions, of reclaiming fortresses, things like that. Maybe a little more on the border than he's entirely comfortable there. So yeah, you have heard that there are a group of engineers. They were essentially the classic civil engineers for the empire that were caught there and have since been kind of under house arrest. They're treated well, but they're very clearly not allowed to leave kind of thing. Does that seem fair? So let's do another once around for house moves or whatever. Go through and do that, and then we'll look at maybe a court thing. Let's start back again with our horse tribes. What is it that they want to do?
You really gotta get this project going, folks. Yeah, I actually really want this project going. The rewards for us are too great. I think, let's see. So do I want to, who do I have influence over? Do I have influence over anybody?
Over the
The
envoys.
envoys.
The envoys. Let's just start with the wrong name. But yeah, I want to call in a debt. Let me see what surpluses they have actually, because that's what I would be offering to the Empire. So
We have raw materials.
ooh, you just have raw materials. That's basically putting us in direct conflict.
Well, here's the thing. You can call in the debt. They can refuse. They just have to make a roll.
That's true. Yeah, I think we're going to rally, try to rally their spirits for the mood of this project. Remind them how it benefits all, and saddens those of us who are probably displaced the most that others aren't maybe sharing in the burden of this project. And can they find it in their hearts and in their good graces to perhaps participate?
So now I have a question here, because there are two ways that I hear this. There is taking that asset from them and then you giving it to the arbiter. That's a very different thing from, hey, can we convince you to make this donation? Which
We're more interested in the latter.
Okay.
I'm not interested in kind of horse lords as warriors and that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do the envoys say when an entourage from the horse clans comes to call in their debt with you and ask that you make this donation?
I mean, I think the envoys are thrilled to get credit for repaying their debt to the horse lords and, getting credit for, furthering the project, because they have been told that we're officially in favor of this project completing. So,
okay, so you will make that move. Horse
so
lord. Here's the thing now. So now we look at the logistics issue. Your mood currently is a -2. So for every point of mood below 0, you need to pick one each of those logistics things. On the other hand, you could ask the horse lords to transport this for you.
Just to check, why is the envoy's mood -2?
Or am I reading that wrong? I'm sorry, it's -1 because they have 1 surplus and 2 needs. So you would just pick one of those.
is it The horse lords or the envoys who are?
So the envoys will make this pick because you're the one actually delivering it on their behest.
Delivering the materials. Yeah,
Yeah.
makes sense. Okay.
You can. I have to tell
So we're
you.
at -1 move. Okay.
Yeah. So you from the logistics on the house moves.
Got it.
One
Got it.
of
Okay.
those.
Well, I don't know what the time frame is to complete this project. Does it?
That's a really good question. You don't have to complete it before we get to the next court.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a thing. And the next court will be the mark of, okay, now we're in another season. So essentially, if you make that donation, the raw materials will be gone, but you'll only get credit for it essentially after the season turns. Are you good with that?
No, that doesn't sound like any fun.
Okay.
It's just need to get it moving in. Gain a need. I already got it. No, I don't want to do that. All right, either it stalls and you see what it needs to get it moving again, or whose land it travels through. I don't have either it has to travel through someone's land or the delivery stalls, and you say what's needed to get it moving again. I don't feel strongly between those two. Do you have a
how about
idea
this?
For one of those?
I think that while you gather the raw materials and go to start moving this along the path, word will come back from the caravans that people are very hesitant to take long caravan journeys through the routes that require them to go up there because there have been these attacks by werewolves, and there are still packs of those out there. And maybe Ziv needs to accompany, or maybe something needs to be done about these werewolves. That might be a way to gain some glory. Does that seem reasonable?
Yep, sounds good.
Scott, does that feel good for your move there? You spent your influence.
That feels good. I actually also like the result.
Okay.
It sounds like something where Samat could help Civ out, or I like what that puts on the table.
Excellent.
And I basically lose the raw material surplus now.
Right? That you do, yeah. Well, actually, technically, once you get the problem resolved, then you'll lose it. Yeah. But
it matters for what my mood is, basically, right?
Yeah, Well, so don't take that off the table yet for yourself.
Okay.
Let's come back to the church.
Yeah, I think we do want to curry favor and assist with this this grand construction of the aqueduct. I noticed that artisans is another need of the project, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, the church's buildings themselves must involve artisans. We don't have it marked down as a surplus though. So I guess, do you think I should read the wind to find out how to get access to,
I don't think we've established any communities of artisans or anything like that on the table yet.
Yeah. All right. So we'll try to learn a little bit about where we could find some artisans to assist with the Arbiter's project. So I'm going to roll plus reach. And let me roll some D6s and not D2s here.
Right. Sherry has made that mistake more times.
So God, that's not just me.
I rolled a 6, and I'm checking my reach is 1, so it's a 7.
Okay.
How do we get access to artisans?
Yeah. So let me think here. We've already got a neighboring country where somebody has to get something. So
those are engineers.
Yeah, those are engineers. That's a very different thing. I think that you kind of ask around. One of the things is that the churches works are very high art. And you're kind of looking for a little more of a kind of craft mason, kind of craft art works and things like that.
Yes.
And I think you will find that there is a strong community on the located somewhere that is kind of a reclusive community of artisans that have kind of held themselves away for a while, and have not yet spread out, probably because wherever they're at is a site that has both spiritual significance, but maybe also access to particular materials, particularly good clay or other resources. So you ask one of your allies, one of your friends here, compatriots, to mark where they're at.
David, will you mark where this artisan community is on the map?
Yeah. I feel it might be interesting to put them on one of these 3 islands up here.
Oh, wow.
That would make them part of the envoy's lands.
Or at least the islands are allies to the envoys.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so that makes sense.
Are you okay with that?
I'm fine with it. Yeah.
Cool.
So let's say Adar, because it's the closest one, just for purposes of this. Tell me, Ziv, what kind of place do these artisans live? Is it a town? Is it a mountain community? Is it woods? Is it a shoreline?
Yeah, what if they're on the coast and they build, walls to keep, ocean flooding out? So they're building like
doing, aquatic engineering already.
Yeah. So that's keeping the ocean out, keeping water flowing on an aqueduct. That's not that different.
They're kind of doing the crafts and things like that. These walls are not entirely dedicated to function. They have a certain quality and art to them. I'm going to put the little marker there on Adar for where they're at. What is the name of the community, Scott?
The name of the community is, I'm still on, no, I'm not on mute. Okay. Putting it up there. The commune of my head wanted to say dunces, but that's horrible. That title came into my mind, the Confederacy of Dunces. The commune
for a while.
Now I can't get that out of my head.
Fair enough.
The commune of doves.
Doves.
I just needed to go with the D just to get it out of my head. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Move this name up and over. Okay, so I put a little marker, put a little name there. So let me come back to you, Alexi. So I'll let you kind of set the stage for this for your next action in the next season. What is the situation of the commune? Are they oppressed? Are they overpopulated? What do you think is the thing that you see as like the kind of the lead in for you? Spiritually vacant?
Yeah. I think they're dealing with strange and disturbing omens and increasingly turbulent weather. And this has everyone on edge and looking for answers.
People keep talking about whether this is another season of the Kraken, whether it is roiling the tides, and there's a certain amount of fear about that. Even though the sort of the pass between Adar and the mainland is pretty small, but the tides have been high, the waters have been rushing, and it's made their work even more difficult. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds great.
Then I think let's come back to the envoys.
Okay. Yeah, I realized that I should have spent, I guess I don't have, what is it? What do I have? I have trust is what it's called. I should have spent a trust to get advantage on that last roll. Oh, well.
Do you want to go back and redo that roll?
Can you get advantage after you've made a roll? Is that
no? But we would kind of
try it again.
Yeah, because we're still learning the mechanics, and we've been gone for a couple of weeks, so I would have no problem if you wanted to retcon that.
Oh no, that's
okay.
That's fine.
But let's say if you may want to make that spend, we'll give you advantage on whatever house move you want to do now.
Well, so we thought it was going to be easy to move in there on the what is it, the old nobility.
Old nobility.
And I think when we're trying to figure out, like, well, why did that go so horribly, it's because the old nobility had this surplus of wealth, and so we're like, they're not going to be paying that close attention. They're fat cats, we can just like slip this out from under them. But actually the church went and took all that wealth from them. And so instead they were like on alert, like, we need to figure out how to get some funds together. And we were totally caught off guard.
Absolutely.
But we've got influence with the church, and the church still has wealth as a surplus, and we need coin. So I think we're going to call in a debt.
Okay.
Oh man.
So the envoys come, they send their representatives. I assume Ziv is amongst the number who goes and makes this request, right?
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
What does the church do when this call is made that we have desperate needs of coin? We've helped you in the past.
So you just come, like, give me a sense of the tone of this request, I guess.
And keep in mind, influence is about the repayment of favors done in the past.
Right. Yes, and the envoys, have sheltered the members of the Church of Uncreated Fire, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, you've met Ziv. I think the request is very polite. Let me actually read calling it.
Sure.
Yeah. If you refuse, you have to hold together.
Yeah, I'm looking at hold together too. So what happens if I miss on hold together?
Well, let's look at that move. House moves. It is the very first move on the house moves tab.
Mm-hmm.
When you must resist hardship, temptation, or infighting, roll plus mood. On a hit, you mostly remain okay, and you have to pick one of those things. On a 10 plus, it goes great, and you gain surplus morale. On a miss, well, it doesn't say, but that's pretty much GM's option at that point.
Got it. So the GM gets to do whatever they want if I miss on hold
It-
together.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the other wrinkle is I have carry a big stick.
Oh, tell me about that then.
I haven't used it, but when you negotiate with another house, you may spend 1 trust to bring in leverage from your patron. So it's called carry a big stick, but it's actually the carrot and the stick. So if you refuse, you fall into crisis, and if you agree, you get flush with resources.
Yeah.
Does this replace the regular call in a debt move? Like I'm trying to parse that.
What it actually does is the additional thing is that that if you agree, you're going to get to do the flush with resources move. So essentially, they're rewarding you more than you otherwise would if you accept.
Yeah, so the envoys definitely can tell the church is feeling conflicted about this request. So are you
Sure.
bringing in the this leverage from your?
Do I have trust instead of favor, or do I have both?
I think it's instead of, but
Okay.
let me take a quick look here because it's been a while since we've done this on our envoys.
Because if I do have both, I'm at 1 with both of them. Or else I just have trust instead of favor.
You aren't beholden. It's when you're holding court instead of normal results, you use these. Lack of influence is noted. Lose a trust. No, you have, I believe, favor with the patron and trust with your.
So I have both.
Yeah,
essentially.
Okay, when it's because what we actually do is holding court instead of the normal results. We use these. We do roll. You do have influence plus you have your trust. They're 2 separate things.
Okay.
Sorry, it's been a while.
No worries.
My trust is not like favor in that it can't go negative. Then it's just
That's right. It's
resource.
it's a resource.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. So my trust started at 1, and I don't think I've done anything to change it. And I'll start tracking it.
Right.
Okay, so I'm now at trust 0. And
yeah, so
yeah,
if when you make clear that that you show the luxurious cloth or whatever it is that's the trademark of your patron from outside, the church decides to pass a hat around and hand over surplus wealth to the envoys on the understanding that this is the repayment of an old debt and the
deepening of our
cementing of the relationship.
So the envoys will take that surplus then.
I don't know how you convert surplus wealth into coin.
Oh, it's the same. Wealth and coin are the same thing.
Okay.
Sorry. There are a couple of different versions of the notes, so you'll see that there's some that overlap.
Yeah.
And so when movement go over +3, essentially this is the triggering the flush with resources. You've erased that surplus. And now Alexei, the church gets to pick one from flush with resources. It's the very last move on the page for the house moves.
Yeah, I think I'm going to make a show of power with a great celebration. So I think we seal this deal with the envoys by declaring a day of jubilee, and the ceremonial fires burn long into the night as there is there is feasting and dancing and ecstatic prayer services to bring down the blessings of the uncreated fire on this alliance.
Perfect. And you get advantage with grasp until the end of the age. That means until the arbiter's project finishes or fails.
Nice. I am writing that down because it is helpful to have something going for me with grasp.
Yeah, because it's not your best. So yeah, the issue still remains about moving the raw materials, but you've taken care of that situation, and you have that wealth now.
And the wealth was located at First Throne, in case it matters to you where the wealth is.
Well, I had a need for coins, so does it just
erases? Yeah, we'll just erase. I think, but between the two, we're not going to worry about the logistics on that one.
Cool.
Let's come to the keepers then.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to get a hold of these engineers, which are in another country or kingdom, I guess.
Yeah.
I fear that's going to be a claim by force, right?
It would either be subterfuge, and you'd have to tell me how you use, like, a scandal or resources or creating, sabotaging the asset, how that would allow you to bring them in, or claim by force is the more obvious one.
I hadn't considered subterfuge. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, just to note to one of the 7 to 9, the 7 to 9 on subterfuge is that it'll happen slowly, won't happen right away, or you raise the turmoil in the land. Just
okay.
That's not a big thing though. No, I mean, we've only got 2 points out of 10 mark. I mean, how bad can it be?
I had mixed up turmoil and doom. So there's a separate track. We're tracking the doom of the project, but that's separate from the just general turmoil in the land.
Yeah, the turmoil in the land doesn't go down.
Oh,
unless
interesting.
actions are taken specifically to do that. And the doom of the project will go up by 1 if turmoil goes above control.
Oh, interesting. Okay. All right. Well,
but that's so far away. You don't need to worry about that.
Well, a couple other questions then.
Yeah.
So I have this move. My lifestyle is that I'm the center of learning. So princes, merchants, and warlords travel to my city to learn. And then theoretically, if someone from a faction, let me read it exactly. I don't know why I scrolled away from it. So long as you have a student from a faction, gain advantage on read the wind with him. Oh, actually, now I read that, it's read the wind. I'm glad I kept doing that. It's not going to help me with grasping. Continuing to literally grasp. The other one was I have 2 treasures. And when I bring a treasure out of storage once per age, I can accomplish an impressive feat. And effects and cost to be determined by the GM. Let's see. Really, I have an idea to use one of these treasures, although I kind of want to hold on to them. You know what? I'm gonna leave it to the dice. I'm gonna do. I'm gonna try this claim by force, even though not great at it.
Okay. Then let us have you roll. Now, before you do that, I want to engage in another mechanic here, because I know we haven't got enough mechanics yet. I know you're just begging for more mechanics. If you have influence, if someone has influence over you, when you involve yourself in the actions of a house you have influence over, lose influence and pass them a die to use as per advantage. So essentially, you can ask somebody that has influence. Sorry, that you have influence over. It's supposed to be that you have influence over. So if you have influence over someone, you could ask them to help you.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Hey, horse lords.
Is that my name that I hear on the winds?
So they come in and ask, and this is a voluntary thing, for your assistance. What does that look like when the keepers go to talk to the horse lords, do you think, Stonia?
Yeah, and they're kind of in the like the steep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they might send I don't know, a few professors or scholars or something. And yeah, I feel like they might make a big to do of, oh, we have this this information to share with you. It's like this ancient text or something very important. And then maybe give them something like that, but really just oh, did you know that these engineers are kidnapped by this kingdom of Drago? And of course, the strongest warriors could free them with our help. We can show the arbiter how great we are.
So would the horse lords contribute?
To the south, you say? We may have complementary goals in the southern part of the world. We shall help.
Okay. So
but we will beg your assistance.
So we're going to roll claim by force. Stonia, you're going to roll 2 dice. And then Samat's going to roll 1 die. And we'll take the 2 highest dice there.
Interesting. I love it. All right. Well, could use some help. I rolled a 1 and a 2. So
About to sneeze. Hold on. Oh my God.
wow.
I really roll a 1.
I guess it was meant to be.
That was unkind. So we look at what the implications are on that. First of all, you lose your influence over them, Stoina. Or rather, yeah.
The direction of influence is so easy to confuse.
I think that as the two of you gather your forces and prepare for that, and bring your troops to bear, you will realize that you have marched into an ambush, and you will quickly come to understand that you have been drawn in, and in fact, they've used the techniques of these engineers to create traps and deadfalls and such, and it is a bloodied field that the keepers and the horse lords struggle back from, with massive losses, and both of you will gain need recruits, as some of the best and brightest of your troops are lost that day. Wow. And the kingdom of Drago laughs. Let's take 5, and when we continue, we will do the holding court and kind of move forward on the season here. All right.
That sounds great. All right.
That was uh, that was just a terrible roll. That was unbelievable.
Stunning. 3 rolls, 2 1s and a 2.
I saw Tyler roll 3 1s on a roll with advantage when Patrick was aiding him in a scene, and essentially he and Patrick Scherzer got torn apart by a mob with that. It was just the worst.
It's you know when you deal with a randomizer, you take the good with the bad.
Yeah.
And, randomizers, just because it's weird to have 3 1s in a row, doesn't mean it's impossible. When we were playing the Adventures League, my son rolled 4 1s on a D20 in a row.
Oof.
Like it was just bad. It's like you might never want to play RPGs again after tonight. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, and the D20 is particularly.
I did it as a mechanic because it's I wasn't even a math person in high school. I was like, you have a 5% chance of succeeding or failing. Just full stop. This was first edition days, so there wasn't like bonuses. And targets were different, but I'm just like, full stop, 5% chance.
Oh man,
that's what drove me to GURPS, because of the curve of the dice roll.
I know. I ran many years of GURPS.
Yeah, it was a nice curved dice roll, 3d6, and all complexity. The way I played was off the table.
Oh yeah,
it was character creation.
We did very simple. Character creation was it, and then we played simple, except for magic. Of course, that was a little more complicated, but
yeah.
All right. So we have some things, threats are still on the table, but we move forward a little bit in time. I think we kind of had established that last season was, I think, summer, if I recall correctly. And now we kind of move into autumn, into fall for the seasons. And we find the arbiter, and again, let me find her name there.
Oksana, right?
Oksana, yes, thank you. We find the arbiter Oksana, at another great ceremony. There is that battle ritual that goes on, that kind of trial of survival for the hooded folk. Where do you think this happens, Alexi? Do you think this is the same place again? Is it, which I think was the Broken Shield last time, or do you think that they've moved where they have this conclave, where they have this gathering?
Yeah, I think it moves. I think this time it's happening in the Great Fire Pit.
Okay. A more Spartan affair here, and maybe intended to be a symbol of austerity. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the arbiter move, which is holding court. And basically, you're going to roll with your favor. We're going to do a quick check-in if there were things that were asked of you last time, and we're going to see whether you did them or not. So, Alexi, I believe that there were no tasks put to you, right? Because I think you
we were overlooked. We were snubbed.
Yeah, but this is your chance to make up for that. What is your current favor with the arbiter?
It's -1.
It's -1.
I guess here's a question.
Yeah.
I have a doctrine. You fight to ensure that the search for justice doesn't end with the Empire's defeat. when you bring evidence of another house's crimes to the Arbiter's court, win 1 favor and they lose 1 favor. Is that something I can try and do before I make this roll?
I think that seems reasonable, provided you're pinning that on an NPC faction.
Yeah, I think probably we gotta just keep
Hammering the old nobility.
keep sticking it to the nobles, right?
Okay.
Right. As you know,
what evidence is it that you bring? What new pain are you inflicting on them?
I mean, I think we bring like the head of one of these werewolves, right? And like there's some like noble symbol like around its neck.
Despite them having paid you off to not reveal these secrets, the church turns around and does so.
Some secrets are too terrible to hush up. It's
even after getting paid.
It's important that justice be done.
So go ahead and increase your favor by 1.
Nice. There we go. Up to 0 favor, baby.
Okay. And now we're going to have you roll.
Okay. Rolling 2d6. Plus 0. So it's an 8.
Okay. So on an 8, the Arbiter has something they need from you.
Yes, we're important now. No longer completely overlooked.
The Arbiter, when we'll talk about how this scene is set exactly, but I imagine it's last time you were inside houses and domiciles and things, but I think this is a little more outdoor tents and wooden poles and temporary facades, and the church's representatives are brought there, and Oksana is brought out, and she says the church has done much good this last season, has drawn the veil away from terrible elements in our society, and for that we are thankful. But we have a task that we believe only the church might actually be able to deal with.
And the representative of the church kind of inclines ahead sagely.
In the southern borderlands, there lie a set of ruins, and we have had confirmation that something monstrous lives there, and we believe that it will be a corrupting threat. And so we wish the church to destroy, exile, contain, whatever means, but deal with this beast.
We will exile or exorcise it as the situation warrants.
We look forward to hearing of your success.
May the uncreated fire light our way.
And then Ziv, we go, and what is your current favor right now?
It is +1.
Okay, and we look at your special move here, and let's have you go ahead and roll with your favor.
It's an 11.
An 11. On a hit, you're respected in the Arbiter's court. You get to pick 2 from that list of benefits there. Essentially, the Oksana comes and brings Ziv up before the assembled peoples, and will say, Ziv, the envoys have worked to bring more souls into the land. They have done what we need to bring people from the lost places and all respect to the envoys for the work and the efforts that they have made. What do you want as your 2 picks?
I have a thought that since we're working on bringing in the raw materials
Mm-hmm.
for this great project, and we are kind of in the area, right? It's going to pass by this. I wonder if like
do you want to use one of those picks to facilitate that transport?
well, yes, that's definitely the thought. I was just picturing like as part of this gathering and the ceremony, maybe like the laying of the first stone, or at least in this area, is maybe part of it. And we actually like supplied that stone, and that's.
And then the arbiters people
That's
take
the
over
opening
the,
that's the opening to say, like we've got the rest that we need, but it's just getting it here's a problem. And so I'm not sure.
Perfect. So let's just say that's one of the picks. That feels right to me. But what do you want to do with the other pick?
So I already did the second one, turning someone that last time.
Mm-hmm.
That hasn't really been put to any use yet, but so I don't want to do that again, because Nazar is already kind of been bribed over to I don't have any surpluses to swap for a different one. So either a private meeting with someone no one else will know, or a rumor about events in the nation that bears further investigation. I think maybe that previous one was probably some kind of private meeting with someone to help facilitate the transport. So I guess the last one, that's you hear a rumor about events in the nation that bears further investigation.
When you deliver the raw materials, you'll gain 1 favor. So make sure you add that.
Right.
Yeah. So you don't want to.
Yeah, I think I also gain 1 trust.
You also gain 1 trust.
Well.
And I add a tick of progress to the clock. But there are some overseas traders that are here supplying luxury goods and things like that. And one of them approaches you and says, Ziv, I have some news that might be useful to you and your people. It is not something that I can use, but it is something that you may find helpful. There is an insurgency, a group of rebels within the kingdom of Drago. Those who resent the king, perhaps were not as on board with the massacre of the keepers and the horse lords. They are called the White Chamber. And I'm sure your people with that name and this knowledge might be able to find out more about them. Is that useful to you?
Yes.
Good. Next season, when the fish contracts are renegotiated, you'll think of me favorably.
I always think of you favorably.
Yes. Well, I wish you the best of luck.
And to you.
And now we come to the keepers. What is your favor, keepers?
I am currently at -1.
-1.
Let's see. One thing is, if I
Was
Oh,
a task put to you last season by the
Yeah,
arbiter?
I was also going to bring that up. So if I
Did
remember
you-
correctly,
Yeah.
I was supposed to bring the people of the Red Forest into the kingdom,
Yeah. Yeah.
which they technically did. I don't know how much the
Yeah.
keepers
No,
were
that
responsible.
counts. You did the
Okay.
task that was required of you, so you may raise the favor of the keepers by one.
Oh, okay. Very good. And then I do have another one. If I laud the arbiter of their virtues, I will gain advantage on this favor roll.
So tell me what that looks like.
Yeah, and I think especially now to since they were sort of responsible, they're going to use this opportunity to maybe they've even brought like one or two of the people from the forest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll let you decide who that is. But
Yeah.
and they kind of just, oh, look at these new citizens of the people. All the peoples of the land are flocking to the arbiter's protection. What an incredible world we live in.
You've taught them how to like chant a poem or speak the names, that kind of thing. Brought them in to perform to impress the arbiter. Yeah, that is. Oksana appreciates this. She's grown maybe a little more settled into her control, and so these kind of honors are not above her. So yeah, you can gain another favor.
Yeah. Or that just gives me advantage on this roll.
Oh, gives you advantage. Yeah. So now you get to roll.
Yeah.
3 dice.
So that gives me an 8.
That gives you an 8.
I got excited because it was a 10, but I forgot I had to take alpha die.
So we've got a threat. The arbiter will come to the church and will say,
To the keepers?
Sorry, to the keepers. I apologize. We have needs. And in past years, there were emeralds plentiful within the land. But since the empire came, those veins have been lost, those resources have been lost. And that green is a sacred color. So we wish you, your family, to locate the emeralds of our land. They are not like other emeralds. They are rare and burning with their own green fire. Will you undertake this task for the good of the kingdom?
Yeah, and I think this is one of the like the head professors or something. He's like, oh, I think I remember reading about that. Yes, that should be easy. Of course, we'll do that for you.
Excellent. And then you are dismissed. Which brings us to the horse lords. I believe you were given a task, right?
Yes.
Do you think you completed that task?
Did I complete it? I did not complete it.
Okay, then you lose 1 favor.
Yep. All right, I'm at +1.
Okay, roll with holding court.
Dice roller. $2d6. Oh my gosh, really? 4.
The arbiter takes it as a personal slight that the horse lords did not accomplish this task. And there is no request made of the horse lords, but everyone sees that isolation. Do you have influence over anyone else?
Nope.
Then you don't have anything to lose. And I think it is the beaten down, desperate old nobility. The arbiter throws them this bone to keep them intact, and the honors and the places where the horse lords might be acknowledged instead goes again to the nobility.
If that is your will, the horse lords understand.
And I think what I'd like to do is stop here and start next time with our characters. You know, it's been some months, having a chance to meet, talk, and then see where things roll out from there. Does that seem fair?
Yeah, drop into some kind of an adventure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, whether they want to head and zoom in on something with,
Yeah.
you know, and figure out. Oh, thank you
Yeah.
for doing that editing, Ziv. I always forget the formulas in this. So if you don't mind, I'm going to stop recording, and then we'll do a quick stars wishes, if you don't mind.